first question becomes, how many of you actually have an iPad right now? You actually have access to an iPad. So this becomes, for most of you, just kind of an exploratory session of what's out there, kind of informative, more than it's personal. And I'll tell you right off the bat, on my blog, the first post right now is a listing of all these apps. So don't feel like you have to frantically write down the name of every app or whatever. Don't even mess with it. It's all out there for you. It's all saved. Write down what you need to know on top of that, but all the blogs all of them are out there. First of all, I'm going to tell you this, is that we're seeing this encouraged more and more in the iPad world in education, which is educators all the time saying it's not about the apps, it's not about the apps, it's not about the apps. However, you have to have apps to start with. So in some ways it does become about the apps. You need to know what you need to do. Eventually it becomes how are you actually going to use those apps with your students, and that's where creativity comes into to play, because there is no right or wrong answer yet. The iPad has only been out since 2010, and even longitudinal, there we go, getting to it, studies aren't out yet showing us how they impact education over time, because so few schools adopted them in 2010, even fewer in 2011, and now we're seeing widespread adoption. I moved to a one-to-one iPad school purposely because it was one-to-one this last fall, and there's a split, actually there's like a three-way split in Iowa, side note, for those that are Iowa people and going to get jobs in Iowa. There's a number of schools that are going iPad, there's a number of schools that are going Chromebook, and then there's a number of schools that are going MacBook or even PC, but they're split between who's doing what. And then there's also a couple really unfortunate school districts that went with the Kuno tablet, which is an Android tablet. Really, really hard to integrate into music ed, but that's another piece. So anyway, there are thousands upon thousands of apps. I think the last number was over 300,000 apps on the App Store for the iPad alone. And of those, there are thousands of music apps out there. So to find good ones is tricky. These are all kind of winners that I'm going to be showing you today. Many of them are paid. There are sometimes free versions or other alternatives that are free, but sometimes you get what you pay for in terms of apps. And that's important to know. Another thing is you don't need to own every one of these apps. When I was in college, one of my goals when I went through all of my undergraduate music courses was every time that we studied a piece of music, whether it be in choir or whether it be in my music theory or whatever, I bought a recording of the piece that we were studying. And I probably spent thousands of dollars on, which became a very substantial collection. Now you guys all go and rip it into iTunes and take it back to the dorms. I know how it works, right? But that said, don't do that with every app because you're not going to need them all. So the first app I want to show you is the one that's most universal, called Fourscore. Fourscore is just simply a sheet music reader, and it doesn't seem like it's that earth-shaking of an idea. And you might even say, why would I want to buy a music? This is Call Me Maybe, writing out, okay, some notes to that. But why would you want a sheet music reader specifically? There's a lot of tools that come with it. Between having the ability to annotate as you go on the fly, what's right, what's wrong, the ability to put in and change annotation. Looking for my stamps, you're there. So like I could add a sharp or a flat if a piece doesn't remember that. You can actually save versions in here, so if you're like teaching privately, if you scanned in your voice book, and you're dealing with multiple students, you could have a different version for each student that you were writing on and recording things differently. A number of other features, including things like, I'm going to get out of here, you can pull up a piano. There's sounds coming through the computer, not through the room, which is okay. You can have a piano to work with. You can actually turn off and on letter names for that. Let's see if I can get them on there. They're appearing very faintly at the bottom. And then there are other features such as even being able to embed an audio file in that. So you could actually be working with an accompaniment behind you while you're working with your students rather than necessarily playing at a piano or whatever. You could record yourself. You could buy a pre-canned. You could use an instrumentation program, create your own accompaniment file, so that sometimes it gets you at least outside or from behind your piano and out interacting with your students, whether it's a band, choir, or orchestra. So basically it's an issue of scanning in your music, and then you have it. Oh, there's also one other thing you can do, which is you can buy a accessory like a wireless foot page turner, and you can actually turn pages wirelessly too, so that you don't have to tap the screen when you're turning pages. So this is made by a company called AirTurn, and this is the big one that's out there. So Fourscore, first app of the close to 60 that we'll be looking at today. Let's see if this pulls back up. Go to the next one. Two more just music readers for you. If you're using your iPad as your music reader, there's a possibility that someday that music reader isn't going to work for you. Something's going to happen. They'll send out an update and it's glitchy. Or get an upgrade from iOS 6 to iOS 7 and suddenly it stops working. Then it's always good to have a backup. So if you don't go with Fourscore, the next one to look at is Unrealbook. Unrealbook has a couple other features that are worth having, such as it has an audio recorder. So let's say you're directing your choir, working with your band, and you're directing off of a score on your iPad, and suddenly you want them to hear what it sounds like. You can stop everything, hit record, do it again, push play, and let them hear it right through your room, wirelessly through your room. A lot of power in that recording ability. Here's what we're having to use at my school, PScore, because we don't have any funding for additional apps. So we have to find free solutions for everything. And PScore is a free music reader that, again, you can use to read music with, and that's what we're going with. So we had tried an app called Chromatic, but it was just a little bit too glitchy at this point. PDF Expert. Here's another great app. There are times you're going to want to do things with a PDF, like you're going to want to edit it with text, or you're going to want to sign an official document. A lot of people are sending out PDFs now to get signed, and then they say send it back to me. PDF Expert is believe it or not, is a $10 app, but it's totally worth it. Just a wonderful app for organizing things. When I apply to speak at a conference, I almost always use PDF Expert. When I have to sign a contract, it's almost always for PDF Expert. It's just a wonderful app that's out there. Notion. How many of you are Finale users? How many of you are Sibelius users? How many of you are MuseScore users? Anybody a Notion user? Okay. Notion started, I don't know how many years ago, but they're on Notion 4 now. And the whole idea behind Notion was that it was the audio is supposed to be fantastic in Notion. That's the whole philosophy. So they did the recordings of all the instruments with the London Symphony Orchestra. Well, what's happened with Notion is it actually was just bought out by another company. The team is still there, but they're working in the company. But what happened with Notion was the first couple versions were really not that great. And a guy that worked at Notion bought out the company and at least invested in it, became CEO. And now he has pushed this program in other directions. And he's also committed to bringing it to the iPad. So there is a version of Notion available on the web. I'm just closing some apps here. There's a version of Notion on the web that is $99. If you want to buy Notion for your Mac or PC, it's $99. On the iPad, it's a $15 app right now, and it's a complete basic music notation for your device. So let me pull out. I was just working on this one last week. So it opens music XML files. So if you use something with Finale, you can pull it over into Notion on the iPad. You can export as music XML. And I don't know if you'll be able to get the quality of sound, but here is really hard because it's all coming from there. So there's a number of things you can do here with that. Number one, you can actually write music notation. You can do other things on it. It also has, it's got a real strong connection to guitar. It has some guitar frets you can put in, but it also has the ability to instantly mix things. So if you put your music in there, like with a choir, for example, you can suddenly pull down the alto, tenor, bass tracks, bring up the soprano, bring down the piano a little bit, push it out as a audio file, and suddenly you've created a rehearsal track for your kids to use. So very, very powerful app, $15, and it makes music that, it sounds good because it's good sampling, but it also looks good on the deal. So Notion. Here's the really cool part. You can buy Notion for your Mac or Motion for your PC. It's the same file. And the iPad app together for $114. The annual upgrade fee for Finale, when they upgrade, is $114. So you can buy the whole thing for $114, or you can just buy an upgrade with Finale. And I'm a Finale user too, so I you know, I don't want to speak ill of Finale, but it's a pretty good deal. Now compared to MuseScore, that's very expensive. MuseScore is free, but hey, you go with what you can get, right? Here's an app that just came out. September 27th it was released. It's called Notate Me. And I'll see if you share the same kind of joy with this as I do. So let me close Notion out. I'll close out Notability too. And let me open Notate Me. I don't want to open that now. Create a voice part. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm used to holding in my hand as I do this. When I accidentally touch. There we go. That's more like it. I don't know why they picked that one up. Let's try that one again. There you go. So are you seeing the value of that? As you write in by hand, you can do that. Think about the power of that if you don't want to learn how to use a complex notation system. Let's be honest. If you learn Finale, it takes you a while to get a hold of it. If you use anything else, it takes a while to get a hold of it. You start drawing notes that you know how to draw already, it can do it. Now, it gets a little more wicked than that. If I do a two-finger swipe, it gets me into like performance mode, and I can play what I wrote. Not the same quality of synthesized sound. But you can do that, and you can also export this out as a music XML. So you can write something there by hand, go open up a Notion, and then do further work. I know, that blows my mind. That's a $13 app that just came out. Here's the other thing that they're going to do with this app. In the future, they're going to add buy-in modules. You know, you can add to it, and it's going to include music scanning. So you'll take a picture of a score right on your iPad. You'll scan it, bring it into this. You can edit it and push it out. This is cutting art. This just came out. Yes.
Can you use this with Sibelius?
Yeah, as long as you push out as a music XML. And if you're a Sibelius user, like an older version of Sibelius, like Sibelius 6, long story short, is Make Music bought Music XML, and they made the Music XML Dolet free. It used to be like a $300 add-on, so you can download that free as a Sibelius user if you've got an older version. And then once you're in Sibelius 7, it's Music XML in and out. It goes both ways. Yeah, isn't that crazy? So I love that idea, and I showed it to my 6th or 8th graders, and they were not impressed. But they're not impressed about anything, basically. You know. But with all seriousness, that just blew my mind that that's out. Now there was a video that came out last January from a company that showed handwriting by hand and converting it to digital. It was a company called Think Music Technology. And the music tech world that's out there, and education went crazy, like, this is the greatest thing ever. We're still waiting for them to come out with their product. But this is made by Neurotron, by the way, the company that makes photo score for Sibelius. You know, all the companies, Sibelius and Finale, they're called Avid and then Make Music, they don't own those scanning companies, but they have connections to them. So Sibelius is connected to photo score, Finale is connected to Smart Score. I've been using Photoscore with Finale, and I find it's more accurate, but that's just me. So that's the next one for you. Notate Me. That one just totally blew me away, and I hope you like it too. So let me close out of Notate Me, and we'll go back to the Keynote. Next app, Keynote. All right, it's a $9.99 app, but from now on, if you buy an iPad or an iPhone from September 1st forward, Apple gives you this for free. Keynote is a presentation creator. I like it because it's so easy to use. It's so easy to use. I do a ton of work, preparation in Keynote on my iPad. I'd rather do it than on my computer than doing this. It also has the other benefit that you can actually create a zip with it. Laser pointer, but the kids all say it looks like a zip. They're kind of right. You know what I mean? You wish you could change that. There was an early demo of Keynote where you could swipe up and it would bring up a tool tray where you could actually annotate on the slide, and that's what's missing. That's what's missing.